next surprise art project. Okay, today we are going to be making a fish out of air-dried clay. So, Mackenzie, do you want to go ahead and open up our bag and see what we've got? Let's see. What is it? Ooh, this is Model Magic air-dried clay. This clay dries really light, so we're going to use this for our fish. Whoa! This is another kind of air-dried clay, but this clay dries really hard. So we're going to use this for our base, so we have a strong, sturdy base. You'll also get to use this clay for the last project, the fourth one. What else did you find in here? Oh, a skewer. This is going to be really cool to use for details and to also, here, let me help you with that. And to also have our fish standing up from our base. So Mackenzie, for this clay, if you can't open this bag, you have scissors in one of the other bags that you could always use. But usually with an adult, we can always kind of open up this clay. Here, you want to finish ripping that?
Yeah.
Thanks. Now, you're going to need, not for the first part, but once your clay dries, you're going to need your watercolors with your brush, all of that. And you're also going to need your water cup once that dries. But we'll come back to those later. So for the clay, here's what we're going to do. Thank you. So once you pull it out, got it? Thank you. Can I have that and you get this one out? Okay. So with this clay, this is going to be for your fish. The lighter clay we want on the top so that it doesn't fall over. This harder clay is going to be for the bottom. So Mackenzie, can you start rolling some of that into a ball? With this lighter clay, what I'd like you to do is rip it in half. Whichever one looks bigger, it doesn't really matter. You're going to use that one for the fish. I'll use this one for the fish. So then this one is going to be for the details of your fish. I would suggest you rip this in half. That way you can have details for one side of your fish and details for the other side of the fish. Okay, perfect. So, Mackenzie, why don't you use those two sides? And for this one, what you're going to do is also same thing. I would roll this into a ball. Okay? Roll it, roll it, roll it. Get that clay and roll it. So I'm going to roll it into a ball. This air-dried clay, if there's little cracks in it, sometimes it's harder to get that out, but that's okay because you're going to be adding details and texture and color later too. Now listen, you do not have to make your fish like ours. You're your own artist. Use your imagination. Make it however you want. I'm just going to show you some tricks and tips of how I usually make these fish. So feel free to use any of these ideas, but please make it your own. As you can see, this is a circle. Fish's bodies aren't a circle. So what I'm going to kind of do is I'm gently going to just kind of pinch it out, kind of an oval, but I'm still trying to make it like a fatter one. So I'm going to pinch it out. And we need the tail too. A tail's kind of like a triangle. Instead of using some of my extra clay that I want for my details, what I'm going to do is about right here, I'm going to take my fingers and kind of like chomp it like, chomp, 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 chomp. All right, so now I've got a fish's body over here, and if I flatten this, it's starting to look like a tail. Do you see that? And the more that you move clay, the more your designs can show up how you like them, okay? I think I kind of like my tail that size, so now I'm going to make it look a little bit more like a tail. If I just kind of press this part in, is that looking more like a fish, do you think? Maybe over here, I can make these look a little bit more oval and realistic, pinch and pull. If you make mistakes, you could always stop and start all over again. I just wouldn't suggest doing that too many times because once this clay comes out of the bag, it starts to dry. It won't dry instantly. It'll always kind of have a little bit of movement to it, but it's definitely the best once you first get started, once it first comes out of that bag. All right, so I'm kind of liking how my shape is looking so far. It's a cute little fish. The tail, you could leave it like this. Maybe you want to kind of pinch some little fun designs on the end. Get your cute little fingerprints in there. Maybe you want to just kind of wave it out. I don't know. I actually kind of, look at that. That looks kind of cool. a fun new detail. And again, just imagine how extra cool this is going to look once I get to add my color. All right, when I did that, my tail kind of lost a little bit of its shape. So I'm going to keep moving with that. I'm going to keep kind of sculpting it. I'm going to make my fish a little bit wider. Now again, guys, like always, if you need to pause this video to create your spots, go ahead. Whenever you're ready, just press play and catch back up again. All right, so I've got pretty much the basic body that I like, but still this doesn't really look so much like a fish yet. So that's why you're going to have your two other pieces that you used. One is for details for this side of the fish and one's for this side, because when we're done, we're going to have this kind of resting on top like that. So it's going to be a sculpture. It will be seen from all sides. So you want to make sure that you get designs on both. Now for the designs, that's up to you. Maybe you want to make a little eyeball. You can go like that. Wow, that might be a little too big. Let's go ahead. Maybe if I take that in half, kind of make like that, make a little circle. Ooh, that looks better. Let me also tell you guys, just by putting it on here, it might stick now, but it might not always stay. It might easily pop right off. So whenever you put a piece of clay on, I want you to just go ahead and give it a little wiggle, 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 wiggle. If any clay ever falls off later, once it's done drying, then you can go ahead and use glue and glue it on. It'll totally work. I'm going to use this other half for the other side, for the eye on the other side, just because they're about the same size, right? So I'm just going to go ahead, add this one here. Now when I'm working on my other side, this is the part that you want to just kind of be mindful of not pressing too hard, because I don't want to smash the designs on this side too much. All right, so cute. Look at one eye and two. If you want to make a little pupil, you could do that with more clay, add a little bit more down there, or you could always add that with paint later. Oh, I kind of like that. That looks great. Now, guys, I'm going to fast forward here in just a minute while I finish doing all of my other designs on both sides. But what I do want you to think about is, what other designs do you really want on your fish? Do you want scales? Do you want gills so they can breathe? Those kind of like little parentheses on the side of it. Do you want fins? Do you want designs here? You're the artist. Whatever you decide to do is going to look fantastic. And again, remember, it's going to look even cooler once we use our watercolors, okay? Before we use this skewer, maybe you want to use this to kind of like draw some designs. It doesn't draw just like a pencil. So like, see, like that's hard for me to do. But maybe if you want to kind of make some texture, I like that up and down. Go for it. Maybe you want to do some designs on the bottom of it. Remember, this is a sculpture. It's going to be made to be seen from all sides. So right now, my loves, I'm going to fast forward my design steps. And I want you to go ahead and start working on your clay fish first, and then press pause when you need to. Remember, when I took this out, I ripped it in half. One half was for the fish, the other half is for the designs. Rip that in half, and you'll have details for both sides of your fish. And if you've got leftovers, I'll show you what you can do with them later. our sculpture, which is the bottom, I want you to use the air dry clay that was in our Ziploc bag. You can feel this clay is a lot heavier than the clay that we use to make our fish. You can already feel a difference. When you make a tall sculpture, you want to make sure it's got a strong, heavy bottom so that it doesn't topple over. So this clay is going to be perfect for the base. What I'd like you to do is rip off a little bit of clay. It doesn't really matter how much, just a good amount, okay? And then with this bigger chunk, just roll it into a ball. You can do it in your hands, you can do it on your table, wherever's easier for you, okay? Now, once you get it into a ball, I want you to just kind of wiggle it down just a little bit. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. So right now it's getting a flat bottom, but it's still kind of rounded on the top. See that? Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna leave that there. Now with this little bit that we took off, what I'd like you to do with that is we're gonna make some fun like seaweed or starfish, some really cool creatures and really fun little underwater pieces to put on this base. So I'm gonna take off a little bit for a star first, I think. And stars can definitely be hard to draw. So maybe you wanna make a clam, maybe you wanna make, it's up to you, whatever you could think of. For my star, I'm just gonna go ahead and just kind of make like a circle, like a flat circle. And I'm just gonna kind of pinch. So that's the top of my star, one side, two sides, three sides, my nails are getting in the way, and four. Looks a little silly now, but I can always kind of keep working it. That's what's the awesome thing about clay. Clay's my favorite art material to work with because you can always kind of keep moving it and changing it and kind of doing whatever you need with it. So here, look, now if I pinch a little bit more, what do you think? Does that look kind of like a starfish? I think it does. It'll look even cooler once I paint it. So then with this bit of clay, I'm going to make that into seaweed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it into a coil. A coil is when you have clay long and skinny like a worm, okay? And with this, we're going to be using this to make your seaweed. So I'm just going to kind of rip off like a few different pieces and I'm just going to kind of attach them on the bottom here and just have them go up. It might be easier to get my skewer, take the bottom of your skewer and push it in right there. Oh yeah, just to get it going. I'm going to kind of push that clay around it. And maybe now I can have this seaweed kind of growing up all around my skewer like this. And again, you want to just kind of press them a little bit tight. Maybe I'll take my starfish and put it, oh, that one came off, so I just need to press it a little bit tighter. And maybe here, again, I'm going to kind of wiggle them on and keep going. And if you have any extra leftover pieces from your air dry clay, you could always attach them now too. Either wiggle them on, or if it's dry, just get a glue bottle and you could just glue them on too. So go ahead and start making your base however you like with your hard clay. And get that skewer in there so that it can start drying together. Once you finish this, then why don't you press play again, and I'll show you how we're going to attach your fish to your base. Okay? I can't wait to see what your bases look like. Okay, so I've got my fish, and I worked really hard on it. We'll take a closer look at it in just a second. And here is my base with my skewer sticking in it. Sometimes I think it's easier to put the fish on it, let it dry, and then come back. So you're just going to, so here's my fish. You can see up close. I made sure to get designs on the top, on the sides, the bottom, the other side, okay? Then you're going to take this and you're going to just kind of wiggle, 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 and have it get them there. Now listen, I'm noticing, one little part popped off. Don't worry. Go ahead and paint it anyways. And once this dries, then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on it, stick it back on. No one's ever going to know. So the final step is just to paint your fish and your base. You're going to go ahead and use your watercolors. So hopefully you've got your watercolors here with your cup of water. If you've watched any of the other videos that we've used the watercolors, you know I like to do something when I first start using them called milk the cow. Sounds really silly, but it's an easy way to remember to always add some water. Because right now, look at our watercolors. They're sleeping. So we need to wake them up. So get your paintbrush wet and you hold it over the red, milk the cow, and just some little water comes out. Now this paintbrush is a little bit skinnier, so sometimes you might need to get 1 or 2 more little splashes of water in there. But I'm going to go over the blue, milk the cow, and the purple, milk the cow, and the brown, milk the cow, and the black, milk the cow. Now that I've milked the cow, and I'm about to start painting, now I'm never going to use my fingers to touch my hair again, the paintbrush hair again, because I don't want to get paint on my fingers. So you'll just make sure to clean off your brush really, really well each time. You're going to go here and you're just going to have fun filling in your fish however you want. I think I'm going to make mine a rainbow fish, but you could make yours just a goldfish. You could do a yellow and orange fish. You could make a pattern. You could do whatever you want. You will notice one thing though. Remember how this is one kind of air dry clay and this is another? When the paint goes on there, it's going to show up a little bit differently. So I'll show you a little bit while I get started, and then I'll fast forward while you guys paint, and we'll catch up at the end to see how ours turned out. So if you want to take a closer look and see, let me get some more of this yellow. So I dip it in the water, get some paint. Watercolors love water. And if I start painting here my starfish, you can see it a little bit. I think my lighting's a little bit off with the shading. If your color is not showing up super bright, like especially a yellow, which is the lightest of all of the colors, then maybe use less water, okay? Whoa, I'm really loving how this is turning out. I'm going to get those sides. The less water it's got, the more vibrant the color, but you want to make sure that your water, that the paint is not drying out. So you do need to, like now I need to go back in, get some water, wake up yellow. Notice too with when I paint, I'm not going and hurting my paint. I'm just kind of petting it like a little kitty cat. Wake up. Just nice and gentle. You could leave it like this, or maybe I love overlapping colors. So if I want to go in my orange, I can't just go straight into it. I need to clean off my brush. So I'm going to mix it up like I'm mixing a witch's brew. Careful though, you don't want to splash all over your workspace. So kind of show some control. Get that nice and clean. And now go ahead and get some orange, nice and gentle. And watch this overlapping color. So if I add the orange to the yellow, ooh, see how it kind of blends? But maybe you're like, oh, I don't know, that's a little bit too bright of a color. Too dark of that. Then you can always either use a napkin, like a Kleenex or paper towel, wipe it off. Or I just kind of cleaned off my brush. And I'm going to get rid of all the extra water on here. I don't want this water. So I'm just kind of tapping that water off. And then you can just kind of go and just back on here. And you just kind of spread that paint color around. Okay. Get those sides. And then you can always do another layer of a different color if you want. Wow. Can you see that? Can you see that orange and yellow? How they're magically blending and making up a brand new color that never even existed before? How cool is that? Just imagine once that dries, if I wanted to make it a little bit more yellow, I could add more. I can add a little bit now to make it more yellow. But just imagine how even more bright that might look once it dries if I add a second layer on it. So you can do that, and then same thing on your fish. You want to make sure you don't have too much water when you go into such a dark color. So if I was to do this pupil here, this guy black, his little pupil to show he's alive, I don't want to get too much paint on my brush because I don't want it to ooze everywhere. So I'm just going to get a little teeny tiny. I can always go back and add more. And you see how I'm really trying to control my paintbrush? Now if you make a mistake, and you get something on there, don't worry. Take that as an opportunity to turn it into something cool. Maybe I'll just make eyelashes. Really fun eyelashes. Huh? What do you think? Do you like that? Cool. I'm going to go ahead, clean off my brush, and I'm going to start, let's see, maybe I'll do backwards. I'm going to start making my fish kind of like a rainbow one. I'm going to work on both sides. And right now, like I said, I want you guys to go ahead, have some fun. Remember, this is a sculpture. You need to make sure you paint all the different angles. Keep turning it and spinning it. All right, lay it how you need to. If it's easier for your fish, if it can kind of wiggle back off, you can always take it off and then just set it, rest it back on later. Because see how it's got that hole in there? So you could always do that. Just kind of rest it back on later. And if you don't want it to ever come off later, just do a little dot of glue in there when you stick it back on, and it'll be stuck forever. But right now, I'm going to actually keep this off because for me, it's easier to hold it in my hand as I paint both sides of this. You are your own amazing artist. Whatever's easier for you, I want you to go ahead and try right now. And then I'm going to go ahead, fast forward me painting, and let's catch up once we both finish painting our fish and our base. Can't wait to see what you create. Wow, wasn't that so much fun?
Yeah.
Awesome. We can't wait to see what yours looks like. The very last step is putting your fish back on your skewer. Now, before Mackenzie puts our fish on, I had a few pieces that accidentally fell off. So if that happened to you too, not a problem. Just take the teeniest, tiniest bit of glue. A dot does a lot. What do we say?
That's what.
That's right. So I put a little dot down there. I'm going to rest it on here. You want to do the next one?
Yeah.
And it's going to go 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5. Ooh, you see? Oh, uh-oh. If that didn't work, that's okay. It might just need to rest a little bit longer, okay? And you see how Mackenzie's really trying to go very carefully doing a dot does a lot? I love it. Look at that tiny little dot. Can we show our friends? Look at that. You want to make sure too, though, that when you know where you need to have this line up, you want to make sure you get that dot right where it's going to end up touching your clay there. Mackenzie, do you want to do one more dot right here?
Yeah.
That's where it's going to touch our skewer. Perfect. Great, babe. That's perfect. Dot does a lot.
Wait.
Oh, okay, a little bit more.
Wait a second.
You know, sometimes when the glue starts emptying, it's really hard. You have to make sure you hold it upside down so gravity starts pulling things down. But be careful because now it might come up fast. Got it? Right. Watch what you're doing. Perfect. Okay. All right. A little bit too much, but that's okay. Now it can be some black algae. It's kind of like, have you ever had that seaweed that you could eat from Trader Joe's? That stuff's really good. All right. So we glued those on. Now the very, very, very last step, and we'll let that dry for a little bit. The very last step is putting on our fish. So like I said before, you could either, 1 second, babe, and then you'll do it. You can either make it so that this can just sit on there, or Mackenzie wants it to be forever. So Mackenzie's going to hold it. I'm going to put, you want to try? Okay, the tiniest dot inside. See that little hole that we made for the skewer before? She's going to try to fit one dot inside of there. So put one dot of glue inside. I'll hold it for you. One dot of glue, babe. Okay. Just tiny. Boop. Okay, all done. And then very carefully, I'm gonna put this on since it's a little bit gooey. We're gonna just slide it on, and ta-da! We did it! High five! Woohoo! Are you excited to see what our friends looks like? No more glue. All right, we can't wait to see what yours looks like. Have fun!